Hello, Ken Reed here. I am going to give you a analysis of the Electoral College for the 2020 election. My name is Ken Reed. I'm the author of this book, The 6 Secrets to Winning Any Local Election and Navigating Elected Office Once You Win. And we will talk about that a little bit later. But first, let's go to the interactive map to try to explain why Republican President Trump has a very narrow path to victory based on what is going on right now, at least with polling. And we know that polling is not always accurate, but I want to explain this from my perspective, not just as someone who's held elected office and has run 4 successful campaigns, never losing, but also somebody who has been following these presidential elections since I was in the 8th grade and the electoral map. So here goes. This is kind of very, very low tech, but this is the map on 270towin.com, which is a very good website. And this is how it stands right now, based on polling, showing that Joe Biden has 290 electoral votes based on states that are solid, 183, and leaning. And there's 2 different categories of leaning. They put 85 electoral votes as toss-up. Trump has 163. 87 strong, and the rest of these leaning. So the first thing I'm going to do, we're going to go back in time to when the last time a Republican incumbent was reelected, and that was George W. Bush in 2004. And this is what the electoral map looked like when he was reelected that year, defeating John Kerry. And so just give me a minute or so, and we'll change all these states to solid red for historical purposes. You will see why we're doing this in a minute. We'll make this solid blue because that's how it went that year. There we go. So, as we see, this was, and keep in mind that we've had the 2010 census, which added electoral votes to some southern states and took away some from some blue states. And we've had pretty significant demographic shifts, but essentially, if we use the Bush landslide, Bush's victory over John Kerry, we'll see that if this was him running today, and remember Bush got a majority of the electoral vote in 2004, this is what it would look like. And here's the key thing: is right here is Virginia. Bush carried Virginia. He was the last Republican. That's my state. And you can see what happens if, let's say, John Kerry had carried Virginia. He would have won the election. Of course, this is based on the 2010 census. So because Virginia is pretty much right now a blue state, it's going to be hard for Trump to flip. That's why he needs to carry one of these other states that he carried in 2016. And if you'll remember correctly, he carried Michigan, which was a surprise. He carried Wisconsin, also a surprise. And he carried Pennsylvania, which was also a surprise. He lost Nevada. Nevada has become blue. So that's kind of where it would stand if the same thing happened today. But because he cannot get a solid South because of Virginia, it means Trump has to win these states. Well, let's see what happens if, let's say, these states do not go his way. Where would he pick up the extra electoral votes to win? Well, he'd have to carry Wisconsin. You see there 269, which would throw it into the House of Representatives. And one of the states he's trying to woo is New Hampshire. He's trying to win New Hampshire because he lost it very narrowly in 2016. So that would put him over the top. Or a win in Nevada, and one of those electoral states with 10 electoral votes. So you see here is Wisconsin 10, and even if he lost New Hampshire, he would still win the election by a fretch. Now, the other state that's also a possibility, if let's say Joe Biden should win Wisconsin, is Minnesota, which will be, in my view, very weird if Trump carried it, because even though he lost it narrowly and it has kind of trended Republican in certain areas, it has not been carried by a Republican since Richard Nixon in 1972. It has been consistently Democratic all those years, even when Jimmy Carter lost in a landslide. It's a very, very Democratic state. So therefore, Trump's real gain is going to be in Wisconsin, in my opinion, to get those extra 14 to make up for not being able to carry Virginia, or he's going to have to carry Michigan. And right now, it seems like he's losing Michigan. And my feeling is that foiled kidnapping attempt did not help his situation at all. But here's the other problem: is that Biden is, as you saw on the electoral map earlier, is actually doing well and leading in North Carolina. He's leading in Florida, and he's also leading in Ohio, and he's also leading in Arizona and in Nevada. So this is the conundrum that Trump has: is that really presidents usually do not win elections without winning both Ohio and Florida. That's how it's generally been since the 1990s, at least. Bill Clinton actually carried Florida in '96. So if Trump loses these states, he would really have to win the states that he carried 4 years ago in order to win. He'd have to carry Pennsylvania. He'd have to carry Michigan. He'd have to carry Wisconsin. And in addition, he would also have to carry Minnesota. He would have to hang on to Arizona. He'd have to carry Nevada, again, a tough state to win for Republicans these days. And he would also have to carry New Hampshire, and that doesn't give him enough. So the fact that he is having to campaign in North Carolina, Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, he's trying to win, and he's had to go to Arizona. I think he had a rally in Nevada, shows that his path to victory is very narrow. And again, one of the reasons why is because since the 1992 election, the Democrats have generally gobbled up all these electoral votes on the West. 55 electoral votes in California alone, 7 in Oregon, 12 in Washington State, and then New York has 29, New Jersey has 14, Massachusetts has 11. I mean, the New England states alone are probably about 30 electoral votes right there, and that has been a no man's land for Republican presidential candidates, other than New Hampshire going with Bush in the 2000 election. So those are the stakes that we're seeing right now. Trump really does, in my opinion, have to carry North Carolina. He has to carry Florida. He has to carry Ohio. He does not have to carry Pennsylvania. He does have to carry New Hampshire. He does not have to carry Michigan. He does have to carry Arizona. That is critical for him to win. And if he loses Nevada, he's going to have to carry. And if, let's say, Minnesota sticks with the Democrats, you can see right there that he has a very narrow path to victory. very, very narrow path. So that is the Electoral College analysis for 13th. Please take a look at, go to visit kenreid.org, KENREID, and get the 6 secrets to winning any local election and navigating elected office once you win. And stay in touch with me at kenreid.org. Thank you.